chapter number 1 is about Operation Sindoor, as well as briefly about the pahalgam attack. The angle here is that the Pakistani government, which is effectively the Pakistani military,
Yes.
as well as the average Pakistani civilian, doesn't look at the Pahalgam terrorist attack as an action which was green-lighted by the government. They look at it as a terrorist attack and they blame India and the Indian government for not having provided security for the victims of the terror attack. But every single Indian is very, very clear that this was orchestrated by the ISI in Pakistan. The Pakistani military was involved in the attack. The response to the attack has been what we call Operation Sindoor today.
Yes.
I think the world has somewhat of an idea of what Operation Sindoor is, sir, but over to you.
Right, so Operation Sindoor was this series of strikes that we carried out, that India carried out on Pakistani terrorist camps and infrastructure about 12-15 hours ago. These were, as far as we understand thus far, mainly missile strikes, and some strikes were done using loitering munitions and drones, right? And this was in response to the terrorist attack and massacre that was carried out in Pahalgam, in Jammu and Kashmir. So tourists were targeted. 25 Indian citizens, 1 Nepalese citizens were executed point blank using those execution style, killings. And we have responded in this manner, using missile strikes and drone strikes. So that's the context. Now, some Pakistanis will claim, the Pakistani narrative is obviously going to be, this terrorist attack had nothing to do with Pakistan. Look, it should be very clear that Pakistan has had a policy of state support of terrorism, state-sponsored terrorism. The last couple of weeks, the Pakistani defense minister said this on the record at least a couple of times on Western television networks, that Pakistan has been doing the dirty work for the West and the US and the UK for decades. Essentially, since 1979, when the USSR invaded Afghanistan, Pakistan became a proxy of the West. They got a lot of money from the US to fight, to essentially serve as the staging base of the Mujahideen war against the occupying Soviet Union. Now, once the war ended and the Soviets retreated, this capacity that they had built up, this Mujahideen capacity, was then diverted against India. And then in the 1980s, there was this entire terrorist outbreak in Punjab in India. So this was all carried out by Pakistan. They had terror training camps and bases across the border, on their side of the border, and they would push in terrorists across into India. So Pakistan has had a long history of being a terror factory. And as a consequence of this, India has suffered for decades. We've had an entire population, hundreds of thousands of Kashmiri Hindus who were evicted from Jammu and Kashmir, who still haven't been resettled there. And Pakistan has carried out terror attack after terror attack on Indian soil. The Parliament attack in 2001, the 2008 Mumbai attacks, and many other incidents come to mind. So the latest attack was in Pahalgam. This was nothing but a series, a continuation of the same series. And India has decided to respond in the way it has by pinpoint targeting terrorist infrastructure across the border in Pakistan occupied Kashmir and in Pakistan proper. So that is what Operation Sindoor is. We still don't have all the details of how this was carried out. There are rumors that Pakistani aircraft have been shot down. The Pakistanis are claiming that 5 Indian fighter planes were shot down, and so on. So there are claims and counterclaims, but what we know is for sure is the video evidence that was provided by India to the media today, in which you can see the strikes being carried out on the terrorist infrastructure. So that's what Operation Sindoor is thus far.
Okay. To give some context to the global audience, I would like to begin by saying Osama bin Laden was also found to be hiding in Pakistan.
Absolutely.
That's why he was neutralized.
Yes.
Let's begin the narrative there. Because the narrative from the Pakistani media, and honestly, a lot of the average Pakistani population as well, is that, hey, we are actually a country that's completely against terrorism. But the truth is, we had the defense minister saying what he said publicly. It's recorded.
Yes. Even Bilawal Bhutto said the same thing.
Yeah, they echoed this truth.
That Pakistan has been doing the dirty work for the West for decades.
Yeah. And if you've grown up in India, in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, you'd hear about terrorist attacks regularly. especially in Jammu and Kashmir.
It was a daily occurrence.
On social media, if this issue is being spoken about in any post, you'll often see Indians and Pakistanis debating in the comment section. And debating is a polite word. Lots of fighting that's happening.
Yes.
It's two extremely different narratives, and both view the other side as a terrorist state. Especially after Operation Sindoor, the average Pakistani is viewing India as a
Aggressor, I would say.
aggressor.
They're portraying India as the aggressor in this matter.
The narrative that's going out is, hey, look at the Indian military. They targeted young children. They killed young children.
Yeah.
Let's first begin with giving context on what the narrative about Operation Sindoor is from the India perspective, especially. We'll address the Pakistani claims as well. Every big celebrity in India has shared this post about Operation Sindoor, is talking about it on social media. Almost unanimously, the whole country is saluting the Indian military, because most of us above the age of 20 at least have seen the history of terrorism in our country. We've seen how innocent people have been targeted. If not by Pakistan, then by who? That's my question. Everything that's happened in Kashmir over the last 20 years, I believe in 2016 and in 2019, the Indian military was targeted in terrorist attacks. And the Indian military responded. This was also near the beginning of the Modi regime in India. While the Modi government is criticized for multiple policies, the one thing that they're unanimously applauded for is their geopolitical stance. Dr. Jaishankar has gained respect wherever he's gone in the world. And my reading is that the average Indian, irrespective of their political beliefs, supports the geopolitical policies of the Modi government. It's given India a much stronger stance on the world stage. And I'd also go as far as saying that we're the fourth largest economy in the world today. On the other side of the border, we have a collapsing economy. That says a lot in itself. Over to you, sir. Beginning with the context on Operation Sindoor. And you can elaborate a bit or disagree a bit on everything that I just said.
So, yeah, the Indian military has been targeted in the past 10, 20 years, before that as well. But more than the Indian military, it's the Indian civilians who have been targeted. That's what terrorism is. The definition of terrorism is that you attack civilians instead of attacking attacking your adversary's military. Pakistan has had this policy of targeting civilians and targeting the ordinary citizen. And that's the issue. That's the issue between the two nations. When it comes to Mr. Modi and his policies, I personally think, it's my personal opinion, he's the best prime minister we've ever had. And his government is the best we've ever had. And geopolitically, we have risen overall so much in the past 11 years. Our economy is, like you rightly said, it's now the fourth biggest economy. While Pakistan's economy is collapsing, Pakistan is forever one step away from annihilation. It's one step away from complete economic bankruptcy, and it's depending on dole. It's depending on handouts from the World Bank and the IMF and various other masters, the Chinese and so on, for just staying afloat. So that's the comparison between India and Pakistan. In India, we have a nation that is looking forward, that's looking to progress. We are going into space. We are doing all kinds of things. And the Pakistanis are creating terror factories. That's the difference. So the bone of contention is that Pakistan is a terrorist nation. Their only real export, the only thing that you could call, if it has any value to the wrong kind of people, it's terrorism, and it's being directed at India. Now, when it comes to the entire raison d'être of Pakistan's being, they say that what is Pakistan? It is that we are not India. We are of Indian origin, but we renounce our Indianness, and India, they seek to portray India as the enemy, to paint India as the enemy. See, Pakistan is a dictatorship. They have a prime minister who is essentially a puppet. The nation is run by the military and the ISI, which is essentially the same entity. A bunch of generals and a bunch of spies who run the country. And to legitimize their hold over the country, they portray India as the bad guy and India as an existential threat, where India essentially would like to be left alone. Look, we have given up this whole bunch of our territory, this huge amount of territory. You and me are both from northern Western India. This is our ancestral territory. You go back a few hundred years, 1,000 years, our ancestors all lived in this part of the world. We have given up this territory of ours to create a nation that you currently own. Why don't you leave us alone? That's the only perspective that we have, but they won't leave us alone. And to legitimize their existence, they have to paint India as the aggressor, as an existential threat, and that's what justifies their terrorism. So we've had enough of this. We have had enough, and we are now so powerful and so large that Pakistan essentially is a non-entity. The only thing that gives it relevance is that the fact that they have nuclear weapons, which they have it because of Western and Chinese connivance that happened in the 1980s. That's the only thing that gives them legitimacy, and that's the only thing that gives them nuisance value. So we know how to deal with Pakistan now. We are no longer going to just sit back and be a soft state, a punching bag. We're gonna hit back now, and this is just the beginning. If they try to escalate, they're gonna face more pain. That's for sure. That's guaranteed.